The One Piece anime has officially returned, and with that means a lot of discourse has happened. It's fitting, right? Whenever a series comes back, the community's pop. I mean, the One Piece community was never gone, but with the anime back, just a lot more stuff to talk about. So this past weekend, we were blessed with not only one episode, but with two, and that was episode 1123 and 1124. If you guys want to see my reactions to those episodes, I'll leave them in the description below. Now, I'm not going to necessarily glaze something that doesn't deserve glaze. I thought the episodes was fine. I thought it was cool that One Piece was back. Nothing crazy happened, but at the same time, with the chapters 1089 and 1090, nothing really grand happened in those chapters. There's really stuff that happens a few chapters later that Egghead really starts popping. But after 6 long months, it was just really good to see our favorite crew, the Straw Hat Pirates, or almost all of them, because in one of the most anticipated panels, well, Sanji, he wasn't included. Typically, this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but number one, we don't really get that many full double spreads of all the Straw Hats. Usually it's, some of them doing like a cool or dope moment, and the rare occasion that we do get all of them, I think it happened once during Fishman Island, and then after that was in Wano. So the community, they love whenever we get to see all of them in the same frame. So for this scene in the manga, Sanji, he was placed smack in the middle, whereas in the anime, he is completely missing from the scene. Now, some people, they're going to argue, hey, that Nico Robin, she's not there either. Well, that is true, but at the same time, in the manga, she wasn't in the original panel. And then two, there's supposed to be a mystery surrounding her because of Rob Lucci and CP0, their connection with her, as well as Kaku, he was wounded and recovering, so he wasn't there either. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I thought some people were nitpicking, blowing this a little bit out of proportion, because yes, it sucks. Sanji, he is a very loved character, and that he was in the original panel, so he should be in this scene, plain and simple. So yeah, I thought people were blowing this a little bit out of proportion until the very next episode, where it was stated that Nami, she was the one who had to step in and assist Sanji when she trapped S-Shark with the bubble gun, whereas Zoro, when he was fighting, he fought off 2 Seraphins, captured them at the same time. So seeing this, it's like, okay, maybe they are doing Sanji a little dirty. So in seeing this, I decided to look at different scenes, and I chose more of the popular ones from what the community has talked about, including Whole Cake Island, Wano, and Egghead, because they're more recent, as well as Sanji does a lot of things in those arcs. So I think those are good sample sizes to view. And so yeah, we're going to see whether or not Toei has actually been doing Sanji dirty, or the community's just been blowing it a little bit out of proportion. Before I do that, I do want to say, I think the reason why this is such a big deal is because, well, let's call a spade a spade. Zoro, he gets treated very well by not only Oda, but Toei as well, and Sanji, well, he kind of gets the short end of the stick. They're both different characters. I think that we love them for different things. Sanji, we love him because of him having cool moments, of course, but he's more of a complex or a more complicated character than Zoro. And a lot of Zoro fans, let's be honest, right? We love him because he's loyal and, well, he's a badass. Both different, like him for different reasons. But like I said, I'd be a liar if I said Toei didn't gas Zoro a lot more than Sanji. Like I said, we're going to be going through both good and bad moments. And the first one we're going to start off with is Sanji versus X-Ray. This took place during Wano. The anime version completely altered the fight. Now, I know some people are going to interject and be like, nah, they just fleshed it out. Nah. Fleshing something out is different. They completely changed this scene. In the manga, X-Ray, he transformed and then he smacks the mess out of Sanji, sends him flying into different debris. However, in the anime version, Sanji hits X-Ray with a barrage of Ifrit Janbei kicks, followed by a conquer, or presumably knock him out, or at least making him fall into the ground. So this is definitely a plus from Toei. I will admit, I will come out and admit this one might be controversial, but I actually like what Toei did here. So while they were looking for Vegapunk, the group Sanji was a part of consisted of himself, Jinbei, and Stussy. In the manga, Sanji asked Stussy if she could call him her dog, and her response was, as long as you find Stella for her. The anime actually turned Sanji into a dog, and he started barking when she answered his question. Like I said, this might be controversial, but I actually like this addition because Well, I thought it was pretty funny, I can't even lie. Another instance where Toei made Sanji look better and fleshed out a fight a little bit more, I'm talking about Daifuku versus Sanji, because in the anime, they had a clash and the genie sent Sanji flying. What is with Oda and just making Sanji getting sent to the Shadow Realm? However, in the anime, on top of the original clash, Sanji, he did his thing. He blocked and even kicked the mess out of the genie with a flambe shot. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I watched the anime before I read the manga, so I didn't actually know that this was an anime only sequence, but boy, I ain't gonna lie to you, this is probably one of my favorite Sanji moments because of the speed and the acceleration behind the kick caused the genie to get sent flying, and then the explosion in the background. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Sanji versus King, I'm indifferent about this one because I can see both sides, and I'm talking about King and Sanji's first interaction, because on one hand, in the manga, Sanji, he blocks King's kick, and then we cut him getting power drived into the building. On the other hand, in the anime version, they fleshed out the scene causing Sanji to attempt a soba kick where King blocked the attack, and then we got the whole chase scene between the two, and ultimately King caught up, and that's when he power drove him into the building. The reason why I am so indifferent about this scene is because on one hand, I can understand how Sanji fans are mad saying, hey, Toei, they added different things and they did Sanji dirty. But on the other hand, it can also be viewed as King gas, because a lot of fans were upset that King didn't do more during the Onigashima raid in the manga because he's the second strongest beast pirate, so we expected him to do a little bit more. But if you guys have made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. I put out different One Piece content almost each and every day. Sanji versus King and Queen. When we got an update regarding what was happening on the performance floor, we only saw Marco laying on the ground and he was exhausted, and it was stated that Sanji was fighting King and Queen by himself. That was it, taking on two lead performers with over billion-berry bounties. One's a first commander and one's a second commander. The fact that Sanji was fighting them alone was impressive, and so it was very unfortunate that we didn't see anything in the manga. However, that's why we have the anime, because it didn't disappoint. Fleshing out this scene, we saw exactly how Sanji was able to keep King and Queen at bay. The animation, choreography was amazing, and Toei was definitely in their bag, showing viewers how Sanji was holding it down while Zoro was still being healed. I already mentioned earlier in my intro how Sanji had to be saved by Nami because of S-Shark. Well, something happened between the two beforehand. First off, they gave Sanji some whack-ass animation of him running. Buddy low-key looked like he was in an episode of Scooby-Doo, and to top it off, they did him even dirtier because they had an S-Shark speed split Sanji and sent him flying across the room like a little toddler was throwing a Lego character. The same Sanji who was fast enough to catch up to KIZARU, kick his laser, and cause it to explode. There's not many characters that can speed blitz Sanji like that, so the fact that S-Shark, they made him do that shouldn't have happened. Hell Memories for the longest has been argued to be Sanji's strongest attack, and Toei animated it beautifully against Queen. It was so beautiful, in fact, that Toei spent all their budget and completely erased what should have been animated in this particular scene of Zoro attempting to knock King out of the sky. And honestly, you could make the argument that Sanji versus Queen, the entirety of the fight was animated way better than Zoro versus King, and obviously up until the climax, which is very debatable. The stars taking the stage should have been a hype scene for both Zoro and Sanji, and it was. Sort of, because in the manga, Marco, he stated that it's time for the stars to take the stage, and that both Sanji and Zoro, they attack King and Queen. However, in the anime, Marco stated, here comes the star, and Zoro appeared from the bandages, making this scene way more Zoro-centric when it was supposed to be an equal 50-50. It was more like a 70-30 split. I do think that fans need to realize that the One Piece anime is simply an adaptation, so it's not meant to be one-to-one to the manga, and I think there are times where the anime is better, and I think there's time when the manga is better. And so because of this, I do think that when some scenes change or they're not one-to-one, I do think that fans, they blow things a little bit out of proportion. However, completely changing the story in a negative way and just flat out omitting different Sanji scenes, it's pretty wild, because they do it a decent amount. Because I promise y'all, Zoro fans, I know you don't want to hear this, but if it was him, they wouldn't be doing that. So yeah, I think it's both. I think Toei could do a better job when it comes to Sanji in the anime, but at the same time, they've definitely shown him some love. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how you guys feel about Sanji versus Toei in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.